on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gantos.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's another episode of the Raad Life, and we are here at the sanitized studios of OC Talk Radio.
That's right. That's our coronavirus.
This is a coronavirus-free zone.
Exactly.
At least until the Corona beers show up. But I'm bummed.
It's a good spin.
So I was told yesterday, just to close that joke cycle, the circle here. I was told yesterday that the Corona beer was actually taking a hit in sales.
Oh,
Really? Oh,
Yes.
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody wants Corona anything.
Right, and the person who was telling me this was telling it to me very seriously, and I'm like, I couldn't keep a straight face.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Right? Were you dropped on your heads when you were children? You know, is your DNA? We'll get that. Is your DNA somewhat messed up?
Yeah.
You know. Because if I follow that logic, I guess the city of Corona may be actually sending out requests for proposals for rebranding.
I was just going to say, what
because-
happened to those people that live in Corona?
No, I think they don't admit that they live in Corona
Well,
anymore. They just say
Riverside.
no, we live in Eastvale.
Didn't the coronavirus start in Corona? Isn't that where they named it that?
You know.
Is that rumor floating around?
And
No.
okay, so then somebody basically was really upset that they're sending coronavirus patients to Orange County. And they said, why are they sending coronavirus patients to Orange County? So this is appropriate given
Send them to Corona.
No, hold on a second. No, that would be too obvious.
question
Okay,
of all.
that's too obvious, Paul.
Have it all be together.
Work with me, people. Throw me a friggin' bone here, right? Okay. So, but I said, well, that's really easy, and I think this joke is very appropriate given the fact that we just had the California primary yesterday. I said, well, that's really easy. They're sending them to Orange County because we didn't send any Republicans to D.C. last time around. But bummed.
Boom.
Okay.
Dear.
So
These are the jokes, folks.
With that being
You out
said,
there?
with that being said, I do want to just do a little side shout out there and say thank you. I don't know why both parties basically seem to like me enough to basically invite me and have some people that are candidates on
Yeah,
either
I saw
side.
that you were at the Democratic something. Yeah.
Actually, yes. I that's what I'm going to say. I want to give a shout out to the ladies some of whom I've known for about a decade or more, that happened to make up the board for the Democratic Women's the Club of South Orange County, and they, for some insane reason, I don't know why, invited me to actually MC their event yesterday for the election night.
Very
The
cool.
primary election night. It was really fun. Yeah, it was really fun.
And were you
Just-
telling jokes and other things?
No, I wasn't telling jokes. I was outing them on what I knew about them from 10 years ago.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't
Yeah.
know if he'll be back. Huh?
Yeah. No. They actually, I just got a text message saying, "Thank you so much. You made it fun." So I guess I might be, but it really, and I kept telling people, I am a non-party preference. So just don't
Stay
throw
right in
stuff
the
at me.
middle.
Don't throw stuff at me.
That's even worse because it says on it doesn't just say no party preference. It says decline to state.
Yes.
That's even harsher.
Yeah, it's like
one thing to say. I can't make up my mind.
I had a problem basically, committing to a major when I was in college. So.
Decline
So
to
it's
state.
apropos.
Apropos. No, but anyway, I just really wanted to say thank you. It was a really good time yesterday. It was really great to reconnect with some people that I've known in South County for so long. I haven't seen a lot of them for about almost a decade.
So before we bring in your guest, tell us your quick take. Were they happy with the results? Unhappy with the results? Surprised? Not surprised?
When we left, it was still sort of coming in. I don't think California had really announced. I mean, I think we kind of had the sense that it was going to go to Bernie over Biden, but I kind of caught up with a lot of the other news later on, and some of it this morning. And shout out to friend of the show, Greg Raths, who basically did make it through the primary. So congrats, Greg, for
He
that.
did?
Yeah,
Okay,
he
yeah.
did. Mike Levin did as well. These are people that were on the show last election cycle, and Greg has been on for a number of times. Again, these are all good people, and I would say it again, regardless of which side of the aisle they are. We really need to respect people that are willing to stand up and actually be of public service. Mm-hmm. That is a thankless job, even in the running to get
Who
there.
came
let
through
alone
in
being
the state assembly race?
I believe it is Bill Bro and the lady's name I can't remember now.
Lisa, the other Republican?
I believe so, yes.
The two Republicans made it through.
And There's the gentleman in San Diego who I think is like Latino Palestinian who got pretty close last time around with that ran against Duncan Hunter.
Yeah.
He actually made it through again, and I believe Daryl Issa is back as well, and he made it through.
In that separate district, the other district he's running in. He's running in Duncan.
Right,
Hunter's district.
because Mike Levin actually took over Daryl Issa's old district, but he's running for the Duncan Hunter seat. So it's interesting. Again, I'll put the
So you got two Lebanese running for one on each side here?
Pretty much, man. We're Arabs. We're everywhere. You can't fence us in.
You can't fence you guys in, right?
Don't
No
fence
boundaries.
me in, right? Okay, but that's an Arab doing a cowboy song on a Wednesday, right?
Do you have boots on?
Yeah, actually, I have them at
Yeah.
home. I do have. I have not only boots, but I have a French buckskin jacket too. So
goodness.
watch out. Yeah.
Bring on the Stetson.
Yeah, I actually I think I had a little Ricky cowboy outfit on a metal horse picture somewhere where taken in
my
Baghdad,
gosh.
Iraq, in like
Of course, right.
1968 or something. Somewhere, yeah, it's floating on the internet. So
Little
anybody,
fringe.
the first person to find it and send it to me via text,
Gets a free-
we'll get to sit in on the next show of the Raad Life.
There you
No,
go.
but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I'm just kind of going over some of that because the intention is to have more people come on. More than welcome if you're running for office, regardless which political affiliation it is. We're kind of like the city council here. We're non-party preference, right? So you can come in, please.
Safe.
Yeah, it's a safe zone. We'd love to have you. I think, kudos for you to be putting yourself out and being a public
Well,
service.
it's hard to get your message out. There's very few places that
So
they can
there's
talk
no
and- yeah.
cost to you. I mean, I'm trying to reach out to.
There's no cost?
There's no cost for them
Oh,
to be
my
on. I'm
goodness.
trying to reach out to both Katie Porter and then also Bill Bro. There was a development on the TCA and the toll roads through San
Huge. I thought
Clemente.
you'd be celebrating and popping champagne corks. Bill Bro announced just casually that they've given up the TCA trying to ram it through San Clemente. What I said was impossible to stop because we couldn't stop it in Rancho Santa Margarita. They haven't stopped it anywhere else. And you said, wait till you see what we do.
Wait to see what happens in San Clemente. And again, Assemblyman
gave up.
Bro, I'm putting it out there to you. I would love to have you on the show to talk about that and other stuff.
He put his political future on the line.
You
by
definitely
doing
did.
it.
And for us in San Clemente, we appreciate that. So
To the point where the party no longer supported him. And
well,
backed him. They ran another candidate.
And Greg Rath basically also put himself out there when there was a resolution attempt through the city of Mission Viejo. So I'm inviting everybody who's running to please join us, whether it's school district, city council. We really would love to have you on here. We enjoyed it last time. Yeah, dog catcher too, but you might have to actually
job.
be you might
good
have to
job.
bring in the like your service animal with you. And no, Paul does not count. Okay, but no, I really would like to invite you guys to come over, and ladies, whoever's running, please reach out to me or to Paul and come on over. I'm putting the word out. No joking about this, but with the seriousness of the coronavirus, I would like to put the word out that anybody who has either is in a position to talk about this, that now that we have officially declared it an emergency in the county, I would love to have somebody come in and talk about it and dispel the myth and actually talk about the facts because there's so much hype going on around now.
A lot of fear, a lot of panic.
A lot of fear, a lot of panic. Half of us, including myself, don't know which way to, what is what and what is true and what is not. With that being said, there's other things that are mystifying. And we are trying to dispel one of them here today.
One of the things I woke up last night, I said, I wonder if there's any way
You woke
I
up
can-
last night?
I woke
Is
up
thi-
last
Is this
night.
the 2:30 thing that you have to go to the
2:30 call in the
bathroom?
morning. I got up and I went, oh my God, I couldn't get
Baby
it out of my-
boomers, ladies and gentlemen.
couldn't get it out of my mind. I
was
kept
up at
thinking.
2:32.
You were you see? And you were probably thinking the same thing. I said, wonder about
Wow, I
my DNA.
I got to look forward to that now.
I kept saying, is there any way to check my
They're shaking
DNA?
their heads at me. Oh, you woke up at 2:30 wondering if you could check your DNA?
That's what I was wondering.
Does it usually
Compelling
happen? Is this a
thoughts
recurring
in the middle of
thought?
the night.
I was worried about my DNA at 2:30 in the morning. I don't know if there's anything we
Was
can
that
talk
just
about
after
today.
a heavy night of drinking? Or-
It was after watching the election results. I said, "Oh my God, am I
I-
related to the
I-
same
Hereditary?
species?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this
yeah,
hereditary?
I really need to check whether I'm part of the species or not. But
Oh, no.
everybody's getting on the jokes today, right? But I do want to talk about this because it is another
See?
one of those mysterious things. And Paul keeps wondering how we're going to bring it back to the show, right? Where here
Right.
we are doing it again. So I do want to talk about this because, as everybody knows, one of those sorts of catchphrases, catchwords, if you're hip and in right now, although some of us baby boomers have been hipping in.
You're not a baby boomer. You're a
little
wannabe.
longer.
No, you baby boomers have been hipping in.
Yeah.
We'll let you in the boat.
and stoned for many a decade. But there's hash bash, Paul.
I remember that.
Hash bash. It's
I don't remember
It's like
hash
flashbacks.
bash,
This is how you get Paul to
Flashback, hashback?
There you go. Hashback.
At the University of Michigan in
bash.
1974, when I went there, they used to have the ultimate sign of rebellion, because we were a very hippie school. This is where Tom Hayden had gone a couple years before and started the Students for Democratic Society and the SDS. It was one of those 3 or 4 campuses around the country: Berkeley, University of Wisconsin. There were a handful of these that were leaders in the student revolution. And of course, it was a felony to get caught with a joint, except within the city limits. They made it a misdemeanor, and so they used to have a hash bash, which I think still goes on to this day. We started a hash bash where everybody would just
See, Pam. So if you're looking for business
University of
development
Michigan.
opportunity, Michigan might be
full of it.
Michigan,
I'm
Ann
just going to come
Arbor,
talk to Paul.
A squared. That's right.
So this is something that you guys have been familiar with
Since the 70s.
right?
Yes.
And through trial and error, I'm sure a lot of trial and error, you have actually developed a sense of what works for you and what doesn't.
Right.
But one of the things,
Except my DNA. I don't know anything about my DNA.
well, you actually probably know more than relevant to this topic.
We'll
but,
fill you in today.
But the
Okay.
point of the show today is I wanted to talk about this. A lot of people that are first time users. They're getting into CBD or THC, and they're basically kind of going blind about it. Like they don't know what
They're going blind from doing it. That's not a
Yeah,
good.
no,
no,
that's a good
no,
start.
no, no,
They're
no,
trying
no.
this and they're going blind.
No, that's another thing, and we're talking about that on a different show.
Oh
not
my
this show.
goodness.
But they're walking into this as a new user without really being informed, not really having a sense of what relevance it is to them, how it affects them. There's some sort of general
A lot of misinformation, a lot of
descriptors.
fear, a lot of
Right.
doubts, a lot of concerns. Yeah, absolutely.
So when I met Pam, I really was fascinated by this. I thought this was really a game changer. And you know me, I love game changers and
Yeah,
disruptors, right?
right.
So I really thought this was very timely, very much needed. It really could dispel a lot of this misinformation, lack of information even, right? And make it very personalized, right? So with that being said, Pam, please take a minute, introduce yourself, and then as I ask most of my guests, give us a little background about yourself. Like
Sure.
before we get to this,
Sure.
Who is Pam?
who's Pam? How did you find yourself to the studio? Now, did you lock the door? Because we don't like people
I
leaving.
followed the guy in the green.
You followed the guy in the green.
Ah, the green.
Hey,
So we're into the green.
Paul is celebrating St. Patty's Day early this year.
I am.
Okay, so go ahead, Pam. The mic's yours.
Great. Thanks so much for having me on here today. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Rad. Rod. I always want to say Rad
Rad's
just because
fine.
it's the Rad show.
That's the
That's
Raad
right.
Life.
It's a
yeah.
radical life.
I found, so who is Pam? Pam is...
Who's Pam?
Who is Pam? Pam is a wife. Pam's a mother. Pam's a nana. I'm a serial entrepreneur, been an entrepreneur all my adult life.
What's Pam's last name?
Which, by the way, that's one of the best descriptors I
shortcut.
ever seen somebody on somebody's bio.
Oh, really?
So I had to use it today when I basically did the teaser for the show.
Yeah, because that's who I am.
And give us your last name.
Yeah,
We forgot.
my last name is Lewko.
And spell it.
Lewko.
Pam Lewko is
Pam
with us
Lewko.
today, folks. All right.
Yes. Pam Lewko. I live in Oceanside, California, with my family. We've got 5 kids, 3 grandkids. Everybody lives about 20 minutes away from us.
Good
have
for you.
Have you always been in North San Diego County?
I
or-
actually grew up in Whittier.
Oh,
I
wow.
grew up here. Yeah, I grew up here between Whittier and El Monte. My dad was LAPD,
Oh,
and he was LAPD for 27 years. So we had a very, I guess you could say, colorful childhood. Back then, they would let you go into the station. They would let you as a
Really?
kid.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 8 and 9 years old going on ride-alongs.
Oh my goodness.
Breaking up parties.
What would they do if you suddenly something happened? They kick you out of the car and say, "I'll come back and get you."
No, we just sat
bullets
in
are
the
flying
car and
and-
waited. Yeah. They'd pull somebody out, and my dad would say, "Oh yeah, look at those tattoos. That one's going to be mine in the morning." And it was just a very colorful childhood. I've got a
Yikes.
stack of. My sister and I would have the run of the station, and we'd lock each other up in jail. We'd fingerprint each other.
Oh my goodness.
It was quite fun. But anyway, so I grew up this way.
That's why I had to leave Orange County.
Yeah, in the
I
middle
was
of the
on
night.
the run. Pick one of those. I had so many mug shots and so many fingerprints. Pick one. Actually, so grew up here.
Yeah.
And then about 35 years ago, I moved down to San Diego.
Okay.
Moved down to the beach cities, Leucadia, Carlsbad.
Yeah.
Just loved it down there. Just was a much more quiet pace.
It's definitely changed for sure.
Oh, it's changed so much. Yeah, it's a lot like Orange County, but it still has a bit of a different pace. Still not, I mean, there's a few main highways, so it's still a little smaller, but definitely nothing like it was 35 years ago.
Well, and you're sort of inland a little bit too, like right. Oceanside isn't really, but Fallbrook,
Yeah.
Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
Those areas,
There's some
right.
beautiful
Yeah, yeah,
places
yeah.
once you go inland.
Yes.
Yeah, that are
Rancho
still
Santa
wide
Fe,
open. Yeah, Rancho Santa Fe is
Yeah.
beautiful, still wide
Yeah,
open.
yeah.
But thankfully, I convinced all of my family to move down there. So now all of my family's down there
That's
as well.
nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. My folks are a half a mile away, and I like to keep it that way.
So once
I know, I mean it
mile
in a good way. In a good way.
close enough and far,
Close.
far enough.
Yeah, close enough. Or if I get that call at 10 o'clock, I can be right there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
My folks live about 7 miles away from me.
Okay,
it's,
so you know.
It's a
Yeah.
blessing when they get older.
Yes.
To have them close by for sure.
Yes, they call me. I'm their 911.
Yeah. No, that's my sister, and then I hear from her about how I need to just basically pull my own weight on this.
Buck
thing.
up.
I'm like, well, you need to tell me what you need. Well, no, you're supposed to just. So, but anybody with an extended family knows that especially as your parents get older, if you're lucky enough to still have them. And Paul, you went through your own thing.
Yeah, I
which
lost
we
my
talked
mom
about.
and dad over the last few years.
And so
Sorry to hear
it's
that.
a blessing when you actually are close enough
Yes.
versus in another state or across the time
So
zone.
nice.
Yeah.
Every
So
opportunity.
once you got past the shenanigans as a child.
Shenanigans. There's a word we
Yeah,
love.
I thought that was for your benefit.
The
actually,
shenanigans.
Paul.
It's funny. They're like safe shenanigans because with having a dad as a LA police officer and like watching him in action so much, we used to go with him on those stakeouts at the grocery store. Remember at the grocery store?
I can't believe this.
You remember all those mirrors
All right,
up
go
at
sit
the
over
top?
there.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna-
remember the mirrors.
Remember the mirrors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd go up there and we'd sit with him and he'd go, that guy, watch that guy. Aisle 10, look at him. He's getting ready. He's put in his pocket. Stay here. He'd run down those stairs. He'd tackle that guy. That's when you
Get that
should tackle
pepperoni
him.
pizza out of your jacket.
Exactly. That steak you just put in your pocket, get it back here.
Stay here while Daddy goes tackles
Yeah,
this guy and pulls
yeah.
out.
But you got a front seat. You got
We got a front
you're
seat
a
view.
skybox
We were
looking
safe,
at.
yeah.
Right.
But it's funny because there's that thing in me, like I don't want to ever do anything wrong, because I did witness that side so much. So
how did you get into cannabis and CBD?
so-
that
I know,
sounds
right?
wrong.
It
That
does.
sounds.
Yes, so far, she
Sounds
has
illegal.
locked her,
It's a huge leap.
locked her sister in jail. She's fingerprinted herself in mugshots.
Sat in a
and then
stakeout.
she escaped
Multiple
Orange County down to
personalities.
Oceanside. I haven't gotten is there a career path here? Did you do it like?
It's a little scattered, I
Okay,
guess
okay,
you
well,
could
okay.
say.
So
yeah.
what is it
No,
that
but
you?
scattered sometimes is okay
Oh,
because
he
it's
loves
just
scattered.
variety.
He
Yes.
loves scattered.
Oh, there's tons of variety in there.
Yeah, I'm a total nonlinear person.
Yeah,
Like,
good.
So
Yeah,
what's
it
the
goes
life,
like this.
So what does the Pam's life
So
journey
how did
look
that?
like?
How did
Yeah.
I make that leap
Yeah.
down there and get into things legit? And then
Yeah.
now it seems like I'm illegit again.
Yeah.
Like how
Well,
did that
you
happen?
can't you can't change your nature.
No,
Pam, right?
I know. Especially as you get older, right? You just
That's
come
it.
right back
Oh, you
to
get
what's comfortable.
You get less diluted.
Yeah,
That is it.
yeah. Come
That's
back
true.
to what's familiar.
So what was the life journey like?
So the life journey, I've been in sales and marketing all my adult life.
Okay.
And it's really allowed me just a fabulous life because most of the time I've worked out of my home. So I was able to raise my kids and be right there. I remember when headsets first came out, that was the best thing on the planet because I could walk around, I could play in the sandbox, be on a business call all at the same time.
With a little thing attached to your waist, right?
Remember those?
Yeah, the battery pack.
And oh no, it's beeping. The
Yeah,
battery's
yeah,
going
yeah.
out. Like, let's go. We got to get this back on the charger.
Yeah, see kids that are playing Fortnite all the time and your iPads are dying. It's not a new thing.
No, it's not. We had to charge things.
We had to
back
plug
at-
things
and
in,
our
too.
beepers. Remember
Oh, yeah.
the beepers?
Yeah, yeah.
You had to charge that beeper.
Except
up.
I think those packs had like the big batteries, right?
Yeah.
They're like what is it? The D's or like.
I don't know.
You remember
Some special
you remember the
battery.
Motorola phones that were like
Oh,
was
they
it,
were
it was,
bricks.
yes.
it was
Like,
the pre
go
the,
smart,
pre-
get
the,
smart.
the pre-brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Or
big
like the big
why,
hit smartphone.
why would they make them in a beige white? I never understood that. Like
I don't know. You
it's
might
it's
end up
skin
someplace
tone,
with
like,
that.
like a
It's-
skin tone.
Yeah,
like,
you don't want to get dirty.
Can I hide? You can camouflage yourself with the phone.
I don't know.
Okay.
I never sold phones though.
Okay.
So that's
So
one
what
thing
did
I
you-
never
so-
did
so
sell.
what
I
did
was
you
in
sell?
the health and nutrition industry
Okay.
really most of my life. And
Sounds
I-
like North County.
right?
Supplements, health
yeah,
and nutrition,
supplements, optional ways. It really, my oldest child is 39. He'll be 40 this year. I'll have a 40-year-old this year, which sounds really old. But he had really bad asthma and eczema and allergies. And so the Western medicine doctors, the medicines that they gave him, they took this very calm child to a child that was running circles around the dining room table. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way. And honestly, that's how I ended up in the health and nutrition industry for 30 years and actually about
Out of
25
necessity,
years.
I mean, as a mom.
Yeah, as a mom, I just started digging and digging, and I thought there's got to be a better way, right? And there wasn't Google. You had to go to the library, look it up in
Index cards,
encyclopedias,
Yeah.
right? Look at certain journals and things like that. But anyways, that's what fueled my my life path of really staying in that industry for a very long time. And it just developed into a way to help people. My kids used to call me remember on Beverly Hillbillies? Remember Granny had her little granny
Yeah, her
box,
little- her
right?
little medicine
Yeah, her
of
little
herbs.
medicine box.
bag.
Yeah, they'd all say, "Oh no, here she comes!"
The
Like
satchel.
Granny in her satchel. And so, my kids have been the biggest guinea pigs, and they've drank the worst green juices before there was green juice because it's something that I put together for them. But we went that route. We went the no vaccine route before that was a popular thing. But anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that I'm now in this cannabis space because
But you know what? I'm just going to interject.
Yeah.
It parallels my own life. And my wife I was branch manager for a bank for years and years and years. She's now retired. And she's all into alternatives. We don't, as aging baby boomers, believe necessarily like our parents did, whatever the doctor says.
Right.
We don't believe in a pill and a shot. We don't believe in a drug. We're more likely to try and find other alternatives, particularly for those things that they don't really have an answer
Okay,
for.
okay, hotshot. So that
Yeah.
may be. So does that
Really?
still hold true at this age?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
more so than ever.
I don't take any medications.
Yeah, I try and take very little,
Yeah.
and when we do, I end up taking. My wife did this. She had a high blood pressure for a little while, and the doctor was going crazy because he'd go and he'd say, "Did you take your medicine?" Well, sometimes. And I'd say, I get mad. I say, sometimes she said, I just can't get into this idea. Yeah, I know it's real, and I know it's there, but this whole idea, I'm just going to blindly take a pill
Right.
and trust this. I've got to find other ways: exercise, diet. Alternatives, nutraceuticals, whatever you want to call, herbs, whatever magic thing, mindset. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all
Mantras,
into.
whatever.
She's been going through menopause terribly the last few years, and she took the estrogen out of desperation and then stopped and said, "I don't want to end up with cancer, but so I'll suffer the sweats." And she's tried every other alternative she can think of, and I think that's generational. She's not alone. We're all suspect of Western medicine. It's there when you need it. You got a heart attack, great.
Right.
I need it. You got a broken bone,
It
wonderful.
needs to be set, yes.
But especially this ongoing belief in pill that my mother was drugged out her last few years. They had somebody, she had Parkinson's.
It's
and
very,
everything.
very
Yeah.
common with
Yeah.
seniors and their
yeah, the doctor
cocktail,
said
their
that,
cocktail.
even if their blood pressure's like 80 over 60, they're still taking a blood pressure lowering medicine. And it's like, why are you doing that? Well, see this prescription I have here? My doctor told me I need to take
Well,
it.
and then
Yeah,
you're taking
right.
another one to offset.
I
the
was just
effects
going to
of
say, and then that pill
Yeah.
leads to side effects that
Right.
leads to a new pill that leads
Oh.
to side effects that leeds to a new
All the
pill.
time.
So
Well,
with
and-
that,
and-
I'm
well,
with you.
yeah.
You know, I think the baby boomer generation is the start of it. I think the next generation coming up, they're of that mindset as well.
That would be
and I
me.
think it's just really going
the
to
youngsters.
Yeah, you're the
That
one
would
coming
be
up.
the-
You're
the
just
kids.
right on our
Gen
heels.
X.
Kids.
I missed like by 1 year, and he will never forget.
No,
Let me forget
you're a
it.
kid.
Whatever.
Get out of here.
I don't know.
kid.
You're on the cusp. I think you can be both. Whichever day it
Well,
benefits
I would
you.
sure as hell hope so after 5 years of doing this show, right? I mean, I should just get like an honorary membership.
Honorary
Right.
membership.
Right.
But
So,
but-
anyways,
yeah.
so that natural health, finding an alternative,
Yes.
really spoke to me with this
It
cannabis.
resonates.
And
It
yeah,
appeals to
it
us.
How did you
resonates.
get
So how did I get
into
here?
the cannabis?
Well, it's interesting because I have been in the DNA space for a while now, but I've been in the medical DNA space.
Okay.
So
I didn't know
helping-
there was a medical DNA.
Oh,
space.
yeah.
I didn't know you could literally go measure your DNA.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, with the Human Genome Project, they spent 13 years sequencing the human genome. And through that, what it's done is it's allowed us to see our blueprint for our body. And they can customize medicines, they can customize treatments. I mean, if you have cancer, they can actually drill down and figure out which gene is mutated. They call it gene crisping, and where they can pluck it out, put some healthy gene in there, and
Let's
actually
stop right there. Is there some place to go to have your DNA tested where they take, because I guess I wonder, there's some proclivity for some cancers that ran through my family, and I wonder if that proclivity is within me. And I've started to ask doctors, and they go, like either you don't want to know or we don't know how to tell you.
You can
Yeah,
find
you can
out a lot more these days. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there is. It's called a CGX test. It's a cancer genomics test, and it will tell you. It goes through all the hereditary cancers, and it'll tell you which ones that you've inherited, because like even identical twins have different DNA because you inherit some from your mom, some from your dad.
Yeah,
So why isn't that something that we all instantly do? Wouldn't they all want to know? Wouldn't we all want to know, or we just don't want to know? That's the other baby boomer trait.
It's
We just want to stick our
expensive.
heads in
It's
there.
an
I think
expensive,
that's the
yeah.
thing. It's
expensive.
expensive. It's expensive. And so will insurance pay for it? Do you want to pay out of pocket for it? That one cancer test, it's like a $15,000 test.
Oh my goodness!
So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not really a
Yeah.
test that you want to pay out of pocket for,
And
right?
so this
and
isn't
so
but wouldn't
if it's
they?
necessity, like if you have a personal history of cancer and you're over 65 and you're
Yeah.
on Medicare B, Medicare is actually doing a 7-year study on it, and that's what got me into this. I was helping people who did qualify be able to use those tests.
Next year I'll be on Medicare. I'm 64.
There
now,
you
so,
go.
yeah, next
So you
year,
can,
yeah.
and there's the other test
So
that I think
will Medicare pay for that?
there's very strict qualifications, and they
qualify.
change the qualifications quite often.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind next
yeah.
year. Because I mean, none of my family died from cancer per se, but they all had serious, various kinds of cancer. My dad had leukemia, blood cancer. My mother had a bout with breast cancer, had one of her breasts removed, but it had nothing to do with why she also had Parkinson's and other sorts of things. Her sister had a really rare form of Waldenstrom's blood cancer, a very odd thing. So some unique kind of cancers that ran through the family. I don't remember if her brother had cancer. or
Well,
not.
and cancer can be genetic, right? And it can be environmental.
Right.
It can be emotional. I mean, I have friends who have cured themselves of cancer because they changed their mindset and they changed their emotions around
Hard to believe that, but I hear
things.
people say
But
that. Yeah,
you
right.
know, who's to say it's not
So
true?
again-
And in our test,
and
actually in
cannabis is-
our CBD DNA test, it does test for BRCA1, BRCA2, lung cancer. But there's another test. It's a PGX test. It's called a pharmacogenomics test, and that's the test that actually birthed this, because that's a test that I think everybody on the planet should have. From the time you're born, do a swab, find out what pharmaceuticals work in your body and which ones don't,
Yeah, what test-
based
what's
on
that
your DNA. It's called a pharmacogenomics test. A
Pharmacogenomics
test.
Is that something you just go to your doctor and ask
You
for?
can.
And what does that cost? Is that a...
It's not as much. So it can run in the hundreds to the thousands.
Oh, okay.
It just depends on the lab.
Pharmacogenetic.
PGX
and
for
what does
short.
that tell you? That tells you what...
It's going to tell you what
effectiveness.
pharmaceuticals work in your body and which don't work in your body based on your DNA and your metabolism.
Right.
Because there's some medicines, cardiac medicines. A friend of mine, he got his PGX test back, and it said, and he had just not felt well ever since he had his cardiac issue. But he just thought, oh, it's my cardiac issue. That's why I don't feel good.
Right.
Well, when he got his test back, it actually said one of the medicines that he was on, you don't metabolize this well. It builds up a toxic effect in your body. If you're on this, you're not going to feel well. So he took the report into his doctor, and guess what? They tweaked his medicine. It told him which medicines did work, which ones didn't work. It's all color-coded. Ours is color-coded as well. so that it's usable. And put him on a new medicine, he feels like
Well,
a
and,
new
and, well,
boxer.
and that's the thing about this, okay? Because I really want to come back to the DNA on the CBD thing. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I don't want. We're kind of off on a little bit of a.
But she
tangent.
did just prove why we don't trust doctors.
No.
He had to bring it into
No,
his
but
doctor.
that's no. It's also the lack of being informed. Like,
Yeah,
this
a
is
lot of doctors just don't know.
this
There's
is-
so much.
I cannot qualify
Yeah.
somebody to do the test.
Right.
There's no real justification to have it covered.
Mm-hmm.
It is not part of my common practice of doing this.
Right.
And yet, because of that, I'm not really armed with specifics that are relevant to that particular patient,
Yeah.
to where I can, not through trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
but rather very clearly from the beginning, identify and prescribe medication that would be effective
You nailed it.
with minimal side effects.
Right.
It's a trial and error situation.
Well,
Similarly
they call it a
to-
practice.
Well, that's
They call it.
that's
They
why
call their
it
office a
practice.
practice,
'Cause they're
right?
never perfect,
and they're
right.
practicing medicine, right? That's what they say. They're practicing medicine. But when somebody knows what their DNA
Right.
says, guess what? It now turns into precise medicine.
Right.
It
Yeah.
now turns into precise supplements.
I like
It
that.
now turns into precise care instead of practicing, because a jumbo jet full of people perish every day because of drug interactions that they didn't know about. When my stepdad goes in the hospital, it's like opposite day. They give him one thing for the emergency that we're there for, and the opposite happens, and now we're trying to mitigate this problem on top of the problem
Yeah,
that we already
it's
came in with.
reactionary
It
medicine.
is.
Yeah.
So that test alone, and my passion around that test, is really what birthed this test. Because
which I can see the connecting of the dots, Pam. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
here you are as a mother, basically being sort of concerned about this sort of generic approach to basically
Mm-hmm.
dealing with stuff, having a child that basically suffered from a particular
Ailment.
ailment, right? And then basically being open to looking beyond,
right.
and not just, literally.
So how did you stumble upon
and
this
then
test?
here you are finding involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the tests that you're engaged in.
Right.
And then here comes the next evolution.
Right.
So did you work for the company that did this test, or how did you just
No,
discover
what's
this
really
test, or-
interesting, so in my time in the medical DNA space, which I still am there, we had many, many debacles with the payment. And each time there was a debacle, it always surrounded the lab. There was always a problem with the lab. There was always a breakdown in the lab, whether it was communication, not receiving the tests, not believing that those tests were proper samples, whatever it was. So our friend in common, every time there was a debacle, I'd say, I really just need to buy a lab. And then I'd laugh and say, I'm not going to buy a lab. And then our friend in common, Noble, he was wanting to meet me for lunch and just kind of talk about the projects that he was working on, and I kept canceling on him. And he'd say, he finally just called me. He goes, you keep canceling on me, and I'm not going to take it personally, but what the heck is going on? Like, you don't cancel on me 5 times. And I said, oh my gosh, I am knee deep in this debacle, because each debacle was different in nature. And so it required a whole different set of procedures to get us out of that, because we had like 400 reps all across the nation out doing these tests. And if we're not getting, lab's not getting paid, we're not getting paid, they're not getting paid, it was just a problem after a problem. So he said, I'm really good at that stuff. Like, why don't you meet me? Let's talk about it. Let's problem solve it together. So I met with him. I went through A to Z what was happening, and he goes, okay, Pam, you really need to buy a lab. And I said, I keep joking about that. Please don't say that. He goes, honestly, if you're going to stay in this space, you got to button up this vertical. You're bringing business in the front door all day long, and it's falling out the back door.
Well, quality control, that aspect of it, which is critical for the process.
Let's button it up.
Yep.
And I said, that just seems like such a big bite. And he said, I will get in your boat with you. I'm great at launching things like this. I will stay in your boat with you and paddle until you don't need me to paddle anymore. He said, I'm kind of like, he's kind of like Mary Poppins. She's there when you...
Another satchel.
Another satchel. They follow me around. I have a satchel
You
today.
have your own satchel, and now I know that Noble has a satchel.
He has a satchel. He's like, he's there when you need him, but when you want him, he's not,
And
right?
let's give a
Which
shout out
is
because people wonder who Noble
perfect.
is. I have to know who Noble
Noble
is.
Yeah, he was
Dracon,
on this show
was
last
on the
month.
show with Aaron. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
He's
were
a
talking
great
about
guy.
we were talking about marketing disruption and branding for 2020.
He's a real
that was
disruptor.
actually, I think it was our
very
last,
smart guy.
Was
Very
it our
lot of
last, was it
spaces
our
he
last
plays
show or
in.
the one close to the last?
One of the last
one of the
ones,
last
Last
shows
ones of the
last
year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, all right, let's do it. So Noble is my advisor, and we filed the 506c, started raising funds to purchase a lab. Well, on the way to buying a lab, I became a lab because I had some friends, some dear friends and colleagues, have some really tragic results from edibles, THC. They did not know that they were slow metabolizers. So
And when you say tragic results,
my one friend has one child, and they were in a group eating edibles, and he didn't know he was a slow metabolizer. So everybody's eating edibles, getting results. He's like, I'm not getting anything out of this.
He
He
keeps
kept eating, kept eating, kept eating. Well, by the time it all caught up, he had quite a psychotic episode and ended up getting a hold of a gun and ended up killing himself.
Goodness. Yikes.
And then within that same 2 weeks, two friends of mine who are nurses, and they know the body well, they both use CBD for their MS with great results. But they started doing research on edibles and said, hey, I think these are going to work better. So they did the same thing. They took some edibles and not noticing anything, take some more. A couple hours later, not noticing anything. Well, by the time it all caught up, because again, they were slow metabolizers as well, they ended up in the emergency room thinking that they were having a heart attack because their heart was just racing out of their chest. Because it can do that initially, right? It can have that reaction for some people if you don't know what's in your DNA and what your body can tolerate.
I'll share a personal experience, actually, Pam. I have had no reaction to edibles, and my chosen follow through was just not to do it. But there was one time where I actually had some chocolate, and I would go home and I'd have like a small piece at night. And it was a little almost like sweet tooth almost.
Yeah.
But there was no reaction. I was like, I wasn't counting on getting one. It was just, there's a piece of chocolate in the fridge.
But it's CBD, so it's good for your body.
Right,
You're
but so
helping
I was having a little piece, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was one night when, you're kind of like the typical thing that happens. Now you've got about I don't know, a third of the bar left.
So you're just going to eat it all.
I'm just going to eat the whole
Yeah,
thing,
what
right?
the heck? I'm not feeling anything anyways.
I'm just going to eat the whole thing, right? And I ended up falling asleep on the couch. And when I woke up, there was an effect. So...
and by your face, it doesn't look as though it was a good effect.
It wasn't a dangerous effect, but it was an unusual effect.
Unpleasant.
And that's the other. Well, that's the other side of it. Is that if
it
you're
didn't
not,
make you feel
if
good.
if this is a new reaction or a new feeling you're going through, and you don't have a reference point to even anticipate it, then it kind of worries you because
Fear,
this is
panic,
what's
going on?
This
Right.
is a first time thing I'm feeling right now.
It's uncomfortable.
What is going on? What is it? What's causing it? Is it more serious than I think? Is
Right.
it not? You don't have a reference point. So yeah, I totally can relate to what you're saying.
Can I stop you for 1 second? We do some shows on cannabis, and it's the one thing I'm always pushing them on. It's the one part of the whole cannabis industry they don't want to talk about. You can't die from taking too much THC or cannabis, but you can have some unpleasant side
Very
effects.
unpleasant side effects, yeah.
Because
you just have to wait it out. It's not like
Right.
you can... It's not like you can. There's an antidote that'll stop it.
Exactly.
You just have to go to bed and
And so
wait
I think
it out.
people
But
are, that's why they're always saying, start small, go slow, all those types of things. But I think that's part of the industry that they should address and talk about more, because I think there is a concern and a fear. Rad would be concerned to try that again.
But he doesn't know.
I don't
that's
have a
the thing.
reference
He
point
doesn't know
relevant to that.
what strain was in there, or he doesn't know what
Dosage,
strength
yeah.
was in there. He doesn't, or even what works in your body
you
yet.
might even know, but you may have not paid attention. But then
Right.
again, the fact that you went through this, and when you in the recent past of you trying it out, there was nothing, and then
Right.
you do something as simple as have a little bit too much. And you don't give yourself the time to basically let
No, it doesn't feel safe, right? It doesn't feel safe
and-
to
right.
even try again.
Think about the
Exactly.
first time you had too much to drink.
Right.
Right.
And then the room started spinning, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, the world's ending!"
Yeah.
Or had too much tequila, and you're
Yeah.
like, like
Or you're throwing up.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I think I'm sharing too much. Right?
Yeah. TMI.
Too much for TMI. But no, it's. I mean, I'm sharing this because I totally can relate to that, and to your point, Paul, if somebody is not sure what's going on,
Right.
they may not die from having too much, but they're definitely going to have a very unpleasant trip, if you will.
They will, and perhaps not try it again for something that's medicinal that could really help their body, or something just as simple as sleep or anxiety.
Right.
And I think that's, so getting back to how did I end up here, after those 3 people had that experience, I
And
said,
that's really tragic. I mean,
it was
yeah,
just
absolutely.
heart-wrenching. I
Yeah.
said, there's got to be a CBD test that works like our PGX test. There's got to be a test out there that will test people on their
Now I see the
endocannabinoid system
connections. Yeah, that's right.
and how it will interact with them so they know what's safe. And so I went on a quest. And so are we still purchasing a lab? Yes, we're still purchasing a lab. Are we still moving forward raising funds for that? Absolutely. But in the meantime,
there was a clearer mission now of what
yeah,
you're doing.
in the meantime, we realized, holy cow, we created this. We found some great people that we work with, some real scientists that we work with, because what this test can do, and maybe we'll just hold it on up.
Here, I'll hold it. You go ahead.
You do it. Thank you, Rod. It's a simple swab. I was going to have a business called A Simple Swab, but
you guys can see it right here.
it's just a simple buccal swab, and
No needles or anything.
no needles. Everything can be captured right in here. It's amazing, but on the inside of your cheek, like where you squeeze a baby's cheek, on the inside, there's a tremendous amount of DNA cells. And so you just take this swab, you swab the right side 20 times, you swab the left side 20 times, you put it into this little vial, break it off, and mail it into us. And 2 weeks later, you get an extensive report. And this extensive report actually is going to be a minimum of 65 pages. And what we do is we go through 150 health arrays, we go through over 500 biomarkers, and in that we capture important things. At the beginning of our report, somebody's going to get a personal report that's going to tell them the warnings first, because it's just like you said, even though we grew up in the 70s and it was quite common. I mean, we had the stoners out in the field, right? And we had the pot, and then we had a different set of stoners out in the
He's off
parking
camera,
lot.
but you all know who I'm pointing to.
You're
Right?
talking about me.
In the parking lot, right? But that was something that somebody grew in their backyard. And there wasn't really, what was the worst that was going to happen, Paul? You were going to laugh too much, or you were going to eat too much,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And that's really about it. But the baby boomers of today, they're afraid to try this very high-tech scientific weed that's out there today.
And you've got multiple brands.
Yes, and
you got
multiple strains and terpenes.
Multiple brands that are trying to have their own multiple unique value offer
Right.
propositions. So you've got all kinds of
Well,
different
and you
blends
can
and max.
smoke it, you can tincture it, you can put it on your
Vape
body,
it,
you
all these
can
other-
vape
Right,
it,
the
you can
ingestion
eat it,
format
you can
is
have a
different.
gummy, you can have a mint, you can have, it's just endless.
And
So
I got-
does your test actually also go as far as what method actually is more?
Yeah. So what our test will do, once you get your results back, it will tell you the strains. In the back, there's recommendations. First, it goes through the warnings, and it's going to tell you if you've got a psychosis warning, if you've got that mutated gene that you could have a psychotic event.
Right.
It's going to warn you to watch your THC. It's going to warn you to watch your edibles. If you're a slow metabolizer, it's going to have a warning in there saying, hey, you're a slow metabolizer. If you're choosing to do edibles, try some edibles, and if you don't notice anything, wait till the next day before you try that again. Not an hour later or 2 hours later. It's also going to tell you if you've got that gene mutation for addiction. And that way...
That's one that worries a lot of people.
Maybe,
Yes, right.
maybe you don't, it's going to say, hey, maybe you don't want to do things with THC. Maybe you want to do 3 days on, 3 days off. So we hit people with the warnings right up front. And then what we do is we go through all the different health arrays. So because the endocannabinoid system interacts with every system in our body, but back in the 30s, all that, if you look at the medical books from the 1800s, they prescribed CBD. It was in there. But when tobacco took over and all of that happened in the 30s, guess what? It was all written out,
So
and then it was all taboo.
3 quick comments. One, I don't know why this makes so much sense.
Right?
Why isn't this something that should almost be mandated? We're so concerned about medical dispensaries having security because there's cash there, of not being next to schools because we don't want kids
You're
to
spot on,
get in.
Paul. That's exactly why Pam is here, because when I heard about this, it was like...
It's a responsible.
like
It's the responsible part.
Responsible folks,
Yeah.
If everybody knew, then you're going to not just dispel the myths and the fears, but you're going to have more responsible
I mean,
use.
imagine.
You're gonna know.
Let's just change
Yeah.
the substance for a minute, right? Imagine if you knew, and I'll use both, what type of food you may have an allergy to or not an allergy to
Right.
versus
Yeah.
find out accidentally.
Right.
Imagine if you knew if certain alcohol had an effect on you differently from
Right.
something else, or the way it's distilled and
If you had an
and run
addictive
through the
gene
distiller,
or whatever, yeah.
and then also the fact that you are being told that you may have a propensity for addiction.
Yeah.
Right.
Now imagine if you were armed with that rather than
Discovering
Finding
it.
it
have
out
to
the
have to go
hard
to
way.
have to go to college, University of Michigan, and then find out about it, accidentally by hanging out with people in the field,
These hash
and-
baggers or-
hash bashes, and,
Bash.
and God knows what else they had, like
Yeah,
a couple of keggers or something. But my point is,
Especially the addiction. I mean, you're laughing, but I do know people
No,
who
I'm not
died
laughing.
in that period. And there were those of us that said, oh, you try it and whatever. And then so people went along with that, and they found out they could not handle something. They did have an addiction.
right?
for
We
it.
all know people that we all went out and had drinks together, and
Yeah.
people had a different reaction
Yeah.
to the
didn't
consuming
have
of
that
alcohol,
stop button.
and it had nothing to.
Right.
Well, it
Yeah.
didn't have necessarily to do with the quantity either.
No.
No, absolutely not.
It's in their
It's in-
genetic
it's in
makeup.
totally
It's
different.
in
here-
their genetic makeup.
So here's a topic of CBD and THC that is so prevalent now,
Yes.
especially in the state of California. And as California goes, so goes the nation, right?
Right.
So here we are dealing with something, but we are not being armed.
with the
with some of the
information to be
information we really-
responsible about it.
Exactly.
And I'm with you. I when my kids were teenagers and I found out they were smoking pot, like I was like, oh my gosh, that's the gateway drug.
Right.
Like you're going to be doing heroin next,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
they're laughing at me saying, Mom, I can't even believe I'm walking into this dispensary with you for this
Yeah,
meeting,
right.
right? And it is a whole different thing. But I think at the dispensary level here in California, because it's different all across the nation, and it's different by county as well.
Sure.
What I love about our test is, like you said, it dispels the myth. It takes the big shroud off of it. It takes the mystery out of it because most baby boomers are afraid to try the weed of today. They're afraid that they're going to have a bad experience. They're afraid they're going to
don't
something else is going to happen.
I am quite frankly. I am quite frankly. Yeah, I haven't. I'm not a participant or
No,
anything
because
here.
it's too scary.
It's scary. And the other thing, and so they say, because I'm also through the years, anti-smoking and all this other stuff here. So they say, well, try an edible, try vape or something, and we've had lots of people and talk about all those things. I don't know what the concentrations are in
Right.
those edibles. I don't know what other chemicals are in those edibles. The vaping scare, was it?
Or
was
even
it
now,
real?
what will your body tolerate?
Yes.
Right? What will you? And
Yes,
when
your
you
body
get your
does change.
report,
My
it's
body
going
won't
to tell
tolerate
you
alcohol. I mean, that's why it's all still sitting there.
with a lot of dust on it.
A lot of dust on
Yeah,
it.
those
yeah.
tequila bottles have been sitting there for over a year.
Yeah, because truthfully, I can't drink like I used to
No.
or whatever.
No.
Just physically, I can't consume what I used to consume.
But our test is going to tell you, here's your recommended THC to CBD ratio.
Oh my goodness! that
So
is-
it's going to say yours is 2 to 5. And so because when you go into a dispensary, which I had never been into before, I thought there were going to be all these like dark, creepy people and it was
Yeah.
going to be scary. I grabbed one of my kids and said, come with me. They are beautiful. They are beautiful. They are high end.
Yep.
You couldn't be at a safer place. You couldn't leave your purse in the car in a safer place. They're so full of security. And the studies show that 80% of people walking into a dispensary or store, they want help. They want a personal experience.
Absolutely.
The first time I went in, I played dumb. Like I said, I don't want to smoke anything. I don't want to be high. I just want better sleep. I don't want to wake up at 2:30. I want to stay asleep all night.
Yeah.
Right, everybody goes for better sleep.
Exactly. And what my report showed was that I'm very high. I have a lot of anxiety. Well, I think I mask it well because I don't think
Sure, you
that.
cope.
But yeah, but it's like once I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, both, two of my three kids have horrible anxiety. And I know there's a lot on the other side. So I said, I'm really sorry. You inherited that. Now I know that. So I told the guy, and I want something for my anxiety because obviously I have it. It's showing up here. And now that I was aware of it, it's like, oh yeah, it shows up right here. Like somebody's turning a key or a lock here.
I'm with you. I suffer from the same anxieties, and people don't, because I see Mr. Cool all the time, but internally I have lots I've had lots of anxieties through the years.
Yeah, you internalize and you cope. Yeah,
and my mother was that way, and I know it's an inherited characteristic.
And they've now proved that it is a gene that you pass on, so it's in your DNA. They just did a study with
your
veterans.
test can actually test for simple things like anxiety.
It's going to go through
proclivity.
it's going to go through your endocrine system. It's going to go through your musculoskeletal system, your neuro system. So Parkinson's, do you have the gene for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's? And then what products?
That scares me because my mother had Parkinson's or something like it. I always thought there was no gene test for Parkinson's. It's just observational.
Yeah, no, it'll go in and it'll show you exactly which gene is mutated and which what you can take, and then it goes a step further and it's going to say what, like this person's cardiovascular, the best cannabinoid for this person in this sample test is THC, and the best, it's going to tell you which the best terpenes are.
What's a terpene?
So terpene is like an oil. So you know how, like I like to put orange oil in my water.
Okay.
They get that from the rind of the orange, right? From a food.
Right.
Same thing. These terpenes are oils. And when you combine the terpenes with the cannabinoids, and now there are many. There's CBG, CBD, CBN, CBC. I mean, these aren't news stations. They're cannabinoids.
Let's just take a 2-second explanation, because I had to go through this on the cannabis shows. What are your cannabinoid, your endocannabinoid system, and what are cannabinoids? Because it was only recently, I'm going to say within our lifetime, the last 10, 20, 30 years, that they even discovered the human body had an endocannabinoid receptors system, and the plants have. Well, that's why they react so well, because they target certain endocannabinoids receptors in our bodies, which is how they get absorbed and why we react to them.
Let me hold that up.
Yeah, this is a great to show that it goes through every system. So yeah, it's like you've got a CB1 and a CB2 receptor inside, and they're kind
inside
of
where? In your mouth, in
your body,
and everywhere. Okay.
inside your body, and inside women's birthing organs, I guess you could say. There is the most.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I know. Like
from here on, referred to as
sometimes my
birthing
recall isn't, and you know, my test showed up. I don't have good recall. I don't have good memory, and I'm like, see, it is scientific.
I'm
now.
not faking it. It's real.
It's real. When I can't, like, what is that word? So we've got these receptors inside our body, and they almost work like locks, where they're locked, and we can't get certain cannabinoids. We can't get certain responses. We can't open up to help our body use them. And so when you give it exactly what it needs, whether it's CBN, CBD, CBC, like CBN is supposed to work really good for people for sleep and at night, but for me, it doesn't. I twitch all night. And a lot of people use CBN for their restless leg syndrome, but for me, it causes it. And so
we know we have a digestive system.
Right.
We understand we have a nervous system. There are nerves running through our body. We understand we have blood cells and a circulatory system, but nobody really understands what an endocannabinoid
system is.
So
when we feed it what it needs, it unlocks.
Is it like a little nerve ending? Is it like what do you say receptors? What does it look
like? I
like?
would picture it like a cell.
Okay.
I would picture it like a cell, and it gets opened up so that the body can then receive what it needs in order to, I know we have to be really careful with products to not use the heal word, but it can allow your body to utilize it.
And when did they discover this, and how did it all, because...
Oh, the endocannabinoid system? I think it was like 2013.
Yeah, wasn't that
very recent?
Oh, very recent, within the last 10 years. And same with, DNA, and that's what I love, pairing the DNA with our CBD, with our it's really a endocannabinoid system that we're giving you information on.
Well, and Pam, in your report, does it also tell you relevant to what your ultimately after, like the purpose that, like we talked about sleep, we talked about anxiety, we've talked about this before. Like, we're joking about sleep, but it's true. A lot of the large one of the. I mean, I've talked to people. I've designed a local dispensary, and I've talked to people, and they say that a lot of their sales are basically driven by that because people if you
sleep and anxiety are the top two.
Absolutely, insomnia.
Then pain.
I mean, it's a very common thing these days. We live a very stressful, constantly on life. You're staring at your blue light on your phone too long. I mean, the sleep is definitely a craving that a lot of people have. So in your report, I noticed that there were different categories.
Right.
Sleep was one of them.
Yep.
Chill. You want to go through those
Sure,
really quick?
Sure. So, in my new cannabis store, in my new dispensary
Foray.
quest, foray, I guess you could call it a foray, it is really interesting because if you watch long enough, the younger people that seem to be like 20s, early 30s, they're in and out, they know exactly what they want. They're in and out. They've done their research. They've been on their phones. They've I don't know where they get all the discretionary income at that young of an age, but somewhere.
Well, they don't own a car.
I guess so.
They don't pay for
Uber's,
car insurance.
I
They
don't
don't
know.
have kids, so
Yeah,
they're,
I guess so. But the people that are over 40, and especially the seniors that are walking in there, they walk in and they don't come out because they're in there asking questions. The average bud tender spends an hour with every new person over 50. And they could turn that into 5 minutes with our test
if
because
they're
people
armed with
could
that
walk in
information.
with this test, walk in with their results, say, okay, I don't sleep well, and this is exactly what it says I need for sleep.
What do you have
Here's
that
the
covers that?
ratio.
Right.
Here's exactly. I need some
And here's
CBD.
what I want to steer clear of, and
Exactly.
I probably
It's
I have a
not gonna help
propensity to not do this or to do this or absorb.
And
This
because
is
people are
phenomenal.
dropping $200-300.
Easy.
I mean, an
It's not
ounce
cheap.
was
Easy.
$350 the other day on one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I walked
Yeah, yeah.
into,
Yeah, yeah.
and I just thought, oh my gosh! So somebody can,
So not only is it a potentially dangerous learning curve by trial
But
and error,
expensive.
but also an expensive one.
expensive, exactly.
So how
And
expensive?
it could deter you from. I mean, I'll just use a very simple example. I remember the first time I had sushi,
yeah.
and actually, I'm sorry, I had sushi before. This was the first time I actually ordered uni. Or uni, and I didn't really know what I was ordering because I liked seafood, so I ordered this thing called uni, right? And I had uni, and
I don't know what uni is.
Uni is sea urchin.
Okay.
Okay, I had uni, and I'm like, oh my god, I hate this thing. I hate it. It's like, oh,
Did your mouth swell up?
I spit it out. I don't even remember. Like, it was just a really bad experience, right? And then almost a decade passed. And I would continue to eat sushi, but I avoided uni like the plague.
Yeah.
Right? And then I happened to be out for lunch with a boss of mine in West LA. And we went to a sushi restaurant for lunch. And again, no aversion to sushi.
Right.
Right? But she was ordering. And she ordered all kinds of food, and I ended up eating this thing, and I'm going, oh, that's really good. What is that? She says, oh, that's uni.
She
I
ordered
had
it in a new way.
bad
You had
Yeah,
bad
bad
uni,
uni,
man.
and for 10 years
Wow.
avoided it
Yeah.
on a very instinctive level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So not only could it be potentially dangerous
And you told everybody you
to
knew
do a trial
don't
and
eat
error.
uni.
Oh my God, I told everybody don't eat uni. Now I tell people don't eat uni, I'll take it. Okay? And those who eat uni know what I'm talking about. When it's fresh and it's good, I mean, there's nothing better. But people just can't get past the consistency and the look and,
Yeah.
and whatever. I don't
You're
care.
like, that's okay, just give it to
hand
me.
Hand it
Yeah,
over, right?
it's
Just
bad. Give
Little
it to
lemon
me.
juice, we're good.
Yeah.
Right? But yes, armed with that information, in this particular case, not only could it be potentially life-saving, but also if you don't, the trial and error cost is very high because this
So
is
high.
not cheap.
So
These
what's the
products are
cost
not
of
cheap.
your
Yeah.
test? What's the cost of your test? And I'm assuming this is something they pay out of pocket. And how do they get it? And what's it cost?
They can either get it on our website and buy the whole kit and caboodle, I call it.
Which is the website.
The website is www.rhealabsco.com.
Spelled
And spell
RHEA.
RHEA. for people.
So RHEA is RHEALABS co.com.
And why RHEA?
Labs
Why
Co.
RHEA?
Well, I wanted to stay with Greek mythology because so much of medicine is Greek, right?
I know that RHEA is a Greek goddess. I don't
She
know what she's the goddess
She's
of.
the goddess of ease and flow and comfort and peace. And so with this debacle of a time that I started on this whole lab venture with, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to speak into this next venture with ease and peace and comfort, and we're going to help a lot of people. Is what I spoke into it. And then her symbol is the swan. And so that's why the swan is on our
logo.
Is on our logo with the DNA feathers. And so again, that swan is peaceful. It's easy, it's calm, it's comfort. And that's what we're about. And even with this, right? This is going to bring people ease. This is going to bring people comfort. It's going to remove the shroud of that dispensary.
It's really the fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown, yeah.
And yet there's so much benefit.
So much.
And so much promise in this that it would be really a shame
If they missed out of fear.
that a bad experience.
Yeah.
That
And
is
how much
basically-
does this the comfort cost?
The comfort costs.
for you today only?
So, we've chosen the business model of one to many. So, rather than running funnels and having 10,000 people a month come to our website, what
Right.
we've chosen to do is we've chosen to partner with those who have the end customer, and let's help them serve that person better rather than hijack that
So
customer
these
from
would be
them.
dispensaries or
So
stores or
yeah,
something?
dispensaries, doctors' offices. There's a lot of doctors' offices now that carry CBD, large CBD lines, and a lot of them their own. Especially integrative health doctors have their own line, and so
Or
at the store,
naturopaths or what do they call them?
naturopaths. There's some funny rules around CBD and naturopaths, but I
Okay.
think that just got voted out. I think
Well,
just
it's really filtering itself out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a new thing, really.
Yeah.
And again, you'd think it's only California, but it's not. There was a great article a couple of months ago in the AARP magazine, out of all things, right? Which is a great magazine, by the
Yeah,
way.
it is.
Right. I mean, people still tell me, "What did you do when you turned 50?" I said, "I joined the AARP. I'm taking every friggin' discount I get." Right? But it was a great article. It talked about cannabis. It talked about the benefits. It actually even stated the official statement that was released by AARP in support of this, and it had a map of the United States, and it showed the extent of whether it is for recreational or medicinal, whatever category it may be, whether it's hemp only, whatever.
Right.
But it is actually more prevalent than you think. And so, again, something that prevalent and that fast growing, walking blindly into it, not being armed with information, you're being very foolish.
yes.
And for
Almost
something
reckless.
as simple, almost reckless.
Almost
and,
reckless,
And it could
yeah.
have, like, I mean, thank you for sharing that very tragic story. I mean, I'm so sorry for your friend, but I mean, that is serious.
Yes.
And I I mean, you feel yourself in that kind of trap, and you take your own life. I mean, it doesn't get more serious than that.
No, but he wasn't of his right mind, right?
Right, of
So,
course.
so at the store level, you're going to buy a kit for $90. At the store, at a spa, at a doctor's office, you're going to buy the kit for $90. You're going to go home and you're going to swab yourself, and put it in the little vial. Underneath the plastic part, there's a postage paid envelope, so you're going to mail it to our labs. And 2 weeks later, you're going to get your results. But when you go, I've left out one important part. When you go to mail it, you're going to go on our website and you're going to register the barcode. It's all anonymized because in this industry, that's very important. And with privacy, that's very important.
And
The whole private.
new rules and regulations that went into
Yes.
effect January 1st in
Yes.
the state of California, relevant to privacy.
Yes, we're
information.
big on privacy. All of ours is anonymized. You could register that kit as Mickey Mouse and you don't have to put your address, and you could put your email address, disney@gmail.com, if you wanted to. It's completely anonymized. You could make up a fake email
Disney
just
may
to get
come
your.
after you,
I
but-
know. Whoops. So
Just spell it without a Y. Spell it
Exactly.
Be creative a little bit.
start it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to recover from that one.
No,
We'll
it's
have to
okay.
think
It's all
about
right.
that.
I'm trying to cover you because,
Thank
I don't think anybody in this room requires a lawsuit
No.
filed from Disney.
No.
right?
No.
But
No.
but the point is that it's
It
very,
is.
it's
It's all
super important.
anonymized. Yeah,
Super important. Yeah.
anonymity is important in this realm. So you're going to register your kit, and then you're going to pay the lab fee. there is no wiggle room on the lab fee. So the lab fee is $197, which is about.
So you buy the kit and then the lab fee.
Right.
You can, if you don't have a dispensary near you or a spa near you that is providing this kit, you can go on the website and you can buy it right off the website.
You
And that's where it has the whole
You can contact us
kit and
too
caboodle.
on the show,
Yeah.
or you can contact us
Contact them.
on Facebook. I mean,
Yeah.
you can reach out to me because we're this is so critically important. I really am partnering with Pam and with the lab to make this
Yes.
possible, because I myself benefit from it, and everybody else that isn't like I said, the experienced,
Connoisseur.
the shoulders of giants
The
that
hash
we stand
connoisseur.
on, right? The hash connoisseur.
If only that were
Right.
true.
Okay.
You talk about a once a year hash bash like it was a bacchanalia.
You
that
should
we
have
did
never
every
told me
year.
that. You know when he told me that? It was like, what, 3 years ago, Pam. I keep
gosh.
bringing it up. But you should never tell me anything, Paul, like that.
Once a year hash
That's
bash.
good to know.
Yeah. No, you're fine. He is totally sorry. I'm subjected to him every week.
All limits off.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but it's really. I mean, it's very super important. And when I discovered this, when I was introduced to Pam, or Pam introduced to me via Noble, I'm like, it took me 5 minutes, and I'm like, this is life-changing, life-saving,
Yeah.
and boy,
I
talk
can't see
about
why anybody wouldn't want to
well,
do
talk
this,
about
yeah.
the potential of also being able to enjoy not only the benefits, but if recreationally being used, like
Yeah.
you are going after a particular result, you are now able to control the likelihood of achieving that result to the degree that you want,
Right.
armed with this information,
And to just
versus
understand
a
your,
hit and miss.
and just understand your body better, the anxiety levels or proclivities.
Right,
for
because
other
that
sorts of
information
things.
actually goes beyond
Right, cannabis.
just
right.
cannabis.
Just the recreation part. But those who are just in there for recreation, because one of the cannabis, the store owners said, you know what? We got a really young crowd that comes in here and they just want to get high. And I said, great. We've got 6 categories. What kind of high do they want? Do they want to feel energized? Do they want to feel creative? Do they want to be elevated? Do they want to medicate? Do they just want to be couch locked, right? Do they want to sleep? What is it? And so why not get a better high? Why not find out what gives you
Or
the
do they
best
not?
Well,
high?
and I might want to. I
Or do
want
they
to.
not
Rather
want to
than-
be couch locked?
Well, right. I
Yeah.
might want to
Exactly.
chill today.
Right.
I might want to sleep tomorrow. When if you allergize,
You might
on
want
a
to go on a
Saturday-
hike
My
Saturday.
point, yeah, it's
Exactly. And because of how, I mean, our body works differently with everything, right? Whether it's caffeine, whether it's a
Absolutely.
ibuprofen, whatever it is.
time of day, coffee
Exactly.
acts differently.
Mood,
your
yeah.
mood, your settings. That you get older, it affects you differently.
And CBD is no different. And depending on how our endocannabinoid system is balanced, it's going to grab things
Here in
differently.
Orange County, are there any dispensaries that are currently dispensing this test that you can recommend to us? Are there any here
There
locally?
aren't.
There was one in.
Let's just say we're working on it.
We're working on
Okay,
it.
there was one in, and you wanted to give a shout out to the one.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the one in. This is in Fallbrook.
Fallbrook,
They're opening on Saturday. They've embraced our test. They love our test. They're going to have they've got a tremendous amount of education and really motivated to educate as well. So we're going to start hosting once a month education seminars there as well. So we've got one on St. Patty's Day. We thought it would
Wow.
be fun to have a green in the green, right?
I like that. The wear into the green.
Yep, green into the green in Fallbrook.
Are you going, Paul?
I'll have to now.
Yeah.
You have to go now.
Yeah, here it is.
The wearing of the green. Oh, there's a song even about this and everything. You have to wear the green on the day. Yeah.
So, see Raad about Orange County and LA.
Yeah, reach out to me for Orange County and LA. Where even depending on what market or what industry, you can reach out to me for Southern California. But really, this is something that you should be aware of.
Yeah.
Anybody that that is, I mean, it's legal, right? It's just literally like walking into a bar and not knowing what to order. We all been there. We learned the hard way, right?
Yeah. There's no need to.
There's
We can
no
be
need.
precise now. We don't have to practice.
Right. This is one of those
Yeah.
things where the benefit of advancement, right? You can actually find. Imagine if you knew before you started drinking
Which would work.
which would work best in your
and which
favor,
was
which
not
one
gonna
is going to
make
be
you look
most
stupid.
enjoyable, which one's going to make you more stupid, and actually
or
be
what
able
you should
to.
steer away from. Maybe
Or what you
Yeah.
should steer away
yeah.
from,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and we
It's
all have
toxic
that,
to
right?
your
There are certain
body.
things that
Yeah.
are toxic,
Yeah.
the degree of alcohol proof, and what
Yes.
you should avoid when in it. We didn't have that.
No.
This is a serious industry that is a serious moneymaker in the
Yeah.
state, and as a result, The quality is going to vary.
Yeah.
Okay, the sources are going to vary.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, arm yourself with information of how things are going to affect you so that when you encounter that variety that's only going to get bigger,
Right.
you are at least a little bit more informed in having and achieving the result that you may want.
And isn't
versus
that the
be
message of
subject
the
to
Rad
somebody else.
Life that you're always preaching? Be informed.
Be informed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is
Aging, politics, everything. You're always trying to be informed.
be informed.
It's
Be
really like
engaged.
plant-based, it's like plant-based medicine. Everybody's hot on plant-based nutrition, but it's really like plant-based medicine.
I tried it from January.
Yeah.
And I tried it for about 6 weeks. Okay, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I have two other people that I know that were trying it at the same time. Each one of us, because we were always sharing, like, right
Yeah.
now you can get a lot
You're
of
creating
plant-based.
like your own little database, like our database.
But
Yeah.
you could find a lot of pre-made plant-based stuff
Right.
out there.
Yes.
Like cauliflower
Oh,
pizza, like kielbasa that's made out
Yeah.
of plant product. So we would share that information.
Mm-hmm.
What was interesting, it's an interesting thing you bring it up. What was interesting is the reaction both to the body and to the experience
Right.
varied between the three people, me
yeah.
being one of them.
Yeah.
And in one case, all of us were kind of on a keto diet before in one form or the other, right?
Oh, wow. That was a big lifestyle. I mean,
But I was curious
Yeah.
because I saw the movie,
Yep.
and here's Arnold talking about this. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm older,
Right.
supposed to be a little bit more nutritious based, and we were already on keto. We were
Right.
already watching what we're eating. Let's see what this is.
Right.
And what was interesting is, like, for me, I didn't have the body reaction that was like, I'm putting way too much roughage in my system. That wasn't the case. I did not lose weight. I maintained.
Interesting.
But I also felt a lot less heavy.
You just
So there
felt
was
lighter.
energy was a little bit
Yeah.
different, right? The other two people had a totally different reaction to it as well. At the end of the day, interestingly enough, I'm like, I think I'm going to go back to a hybrid,
Right.
right? So it adjusted my nutritional habits, but I did that based on knowledge.
Right.
And another person, one of the other two people, they went completely back to keto. Like, nah, I'm not going to do this, right? So it's interesting because there is no such thing as knowing too much.
No, I don't think so.
Especially when
either.
it's
Knowledge
valuable
is power.
information.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where there's a cacophony of content. So there's a lot of stuff out there that may be meaningless. Okay, and you're subjected to it, and it's basically
You've
being
gotta
driven by
filter through it.
marketing
Yeah.
or personal gain or somebody's trying to sell you on something. This particular thing is something you control yourself.
Yeah.
And you're armed by information that is so specific to you
Yes.
that literally it is your DNA. And as we used to say on another show, something is in your DNA. Well, cannabis is in your DNA.
It is.
And
That's
for
what our
those of
brochure
you,
says.
So inform yourself.
and for those of you that want to know,
Oh my
there-
God, let's say that. Cannabis is in your DNA. See, cannabis.
It
is in your
is.
DNA. And cannabis is complex.
Yeah.
And for
it
those of
is.
you that
but we
wanna
want to make
see-
it simple.
So it can be simplified if
Yeah,
you actually
we
take
want to
the
make
test.
it simple.
For those of you that want to see thousands of people reacting to cannabis in a different way, I just looked it up. It's still going on. The Ann Arbor Hash Bash Festival is always on the first Saturday of April.
Oh, it's coming
So in
up.
2020, it'll be April 4th, always at high noon, right in the center of the campus at the Diag, as they call it, the diagonal in the middle of the campus.
Paul, we might have to actually do a field
I think so.
podcast.
I think so.
Because I have been listening to
Back
you.
to the
and
Hash Bash.
I might
Yeah.
have to take Paul Roberts back to the Hash Bash.
I don't know when it started, but it had to have started in the early 70s. It started before I got there, so it started just a few years. I'll believe it. There must be something on here, but it's
50
been
years,
going on for
probably.
50, 60
Yeah.
years.
You know what,
That's
Pam?
fun.
I think I might have to reach out to RHEA Labs
Yes.
and our friends at a particular dispensary
Yes.
in Whedon that's in Anna.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
in
And
Santa
host
Ana,
an event there.
and actually have them sponsor Paul and I going.
I think so.
And doing a live broadcast because I
Yes.
got to take the guy back
king of
home.
hash.
I got to take the guy back home.
I'm looking at it.
You know what he was to-
It actually is hashbash.com.
Oh,
and it
they
says
have
the
their
very first
website.
Hash Bash was held on Saturday,
cannot
April
believe-
1st,
I can't believe you-
1972, so
I can't
2 years before I got there.
I can't believe you didn't grab hashbash.com.
Hashbash.com?
What's wrong with you?
I
Somebody
mean, I
grabbed
thought
it.
this is a long gone ritual from the 70s. It's been going on ever since I
Now-
was there. I started in 1974, so it started 2 years before I went there.
So he also was running a radio station on campus.
Yeah, I was running the campus.
So
Oh,
here
radio
we
station.
are,
We've been doing
full
it.
circle.
That is full circle. You
Right?
guys got to go back.
We got to take him
You
back.
gotta go
Don't
back.
we?
I got
CBN.
to take him back. I bet you if you reach out to the people behind it today, you would go in as like a little celeb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They'd usher him in.
Yeah,
They'd get the
absolutely.
red carpet out.
Yeah. So anybody who's interested in actually sending Paul Roberts,
in
WCBN is still there.
back to Michigan,
Yeah,
back
you
to
could-
Michigan,
you
back
could
to Michigan.
broadcast at their
you
station.
Could, you could step in as a guest. Oh, this is going to be good.
Getting better.
What is this? What is
Getting
this?
better.
September?
No,
April.
April 4th.
Oh, April.
Because they
Just
did
like
it on
3
April
weeks
Fool's.
away.
They
Okay,
did
we
it
got to
on
work
April
fast
Fool's.
on this. Okay. So yeah, no, that's cool. So again, let's give people the website. Pam.
Yes, www.rhealabsco,
RHEA.
RHEAco.com.
.com, and then reach out to me again
reach
for
out to
Orange
Rad.
County, Los Angeles, San Diego, spa industry, wellness industry. Reach out to me, seniors industry also.
So underserved.
Yeah,
Has such a heart.
And
for-
again, the point on that one is, as you get older, your reaction to things change. I don't have to tell you that; you all know that, right? So this also is more reason for you to be informed.
Right.
And so, with that being said, thanks, Pam.
Thank you both, gentlemen, for having me on. It was really fun.
Hashbash.com. Hashbash.com.
We're starting. I'm starting a GoFundMe account for Paul to take Paul back to Michigan.
Back to Michigan.
I might leave him there, but I'm going to take him anyway. So thanks
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everybody.
Nice to talk to you.
You have been listening to the Rad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Rad Gantos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.